Joining the podcast is former South Carolina quarterback Stephen Garcia. Stephen, what's going on, man? I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're living the dad life now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's nonstop. We got a 3 month old, and it's nonstop. It's never ending. So, but it's awesome, man. It's the biggest blessing in the world.
Well, fill us in on what you're doing now. I noticed on Instagram you're training some younger quarterbacks. Looks like it's down there in Tampa.
Yep. So been doing that ever since I got done playing. Never in a million years I think I'd make a living doing it, but it's blown up, and it's keeping me in shape and well, somewhat in shape. But yeah, man, I freaking love it. It's a blast. Getting a chance to kind of be like an older brother figure to these guys and help them out throughout the recruiting process, and just going from A to Z. And it's cool, man. Meet a lot of interesting people and cool parents. Been on vacation with some of the kids' parents, throughout the years, and it's been really fun doing it.
What's been the most rewarding part about doing that for you?
Seeing these kids, so appreciative once they get, a scholarship offer. The first kid I ever trained ended up going to TCU, and I still talk to his parents to this day. I mean, the kid's in his final year of law school now, out at in Utah. So football didn't work out, but he got his college paid for, and went to law school to follow his dad's footsteps, and just there's endless stories like that. And that's honestly the most rewarding is seeing these kids how appreciative they are, from the time spent from, anywhere from when they started. I got kids that are shit 8 years old, I think is the youngest kid right now. And I got a couple of professional guys, so and everything in between, and it's really awesome working with these guys.
Has training some of those quarterbacks, has that sparked your interest in maybe getting into coaching?
No, no, I got too much baggage for that, man. I'm too opinionated to be a college coach. But yeah, I mean that, and I love where I'm at. I love Tampa, and I'm in more specifically I'm in Lutz. It's a quiet area, man. I got a lot of property, and we just we can kind of do our own thing, and don't run the corporate rat race, and I don't have to answer to anybody except for the parents of the kids who I train. So I just don't think I'm fit for the coaching lifestyle. I don't feel like moving my family around every so often to do that kind of deal and chase that dream. I just don't have any interest in doing it.
Well, speaking of Florida and the Tampa area, you're born and raised, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
down there. How did Coach Spurrier get you out of Florida and go to South Carolina? Was Florida recruiting you?
Yeah, Florida was Urban Meyer he was probably the heaviest recruiter, to be honest with you. They had this guy named Tebow that was there already, so I didn't feel like sitting around for a couple years behind him. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think between Florida, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and South Carolina, and Louisville was kind of heavy on it in the beginning, but those were definitely the most highly recruited or most recruited people that came out. But Spurrier would tell me one thing, and it always stuck with me and stuck with me to this day. He's like, you can go to Oklahoma, you can go to Notre Dame, go to the Florida, go to these other schools, and be part of their tradition, or you can come to South Carolina where our tradition has been, we suck. So you can take that and build your own legacy, and in a way I did. It may not all be great, but it was sure as hell fun, and I think we kind of put the University of South Carolina on the map. Those 4 years I was there.
If you didn't go to South Carolina, do you have any idea of where you would have went?
I mean, I was very, very, very close to going to Ole Miss. I was getting ready to commit really like that day, and Coach Ogeron called me and said he's not going to be there. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to go there. Not knowing who the hell the coach is going to be the following year. So yeah, after that, I went up to Columbia a few times and fell in love with the city, fell in love with the program, and yeah, ended up just pulling the trigger on that deal.
What kind of coach was Steve Spurrier to play for? I noticed a couple years ago you were doing some media stuff and looked like you interviewed him. What was that like?
He's very hard headed to deal with. He wants it done his way specifically, and I'm also very hard headed, so it didn't bode very well, and but that's part of the game, and I was a hard headed 18-year-old kid that the entire time he's recruiting me, he told me I can keep my beard, I can keep my long hair. Then in other schools like Coach Shula at Alabama was like, yeah, if you come here, you got to shave your face, you got to cut your hair, you got to look the part. And a couple other schools would tell me the same thing. And Coach Spurrier was really the only guy that said he didn't care. And then I graduated early. I get in there in January, and the first day of practice, he's like, "All right, you're going to shave your face and cut your beard, right?" I'm like, "What? No, I don't. I wasn't planning on doing that at all." But and so I didn't do it, and it was just constantly headbutting. I was just extremely hard at. I wish I would have listened, but uh, yeah, he was very difficult to play for. But I didn't do myself any favors.
Well, I remember being a kid back in 2010, and I remember watching you guys. You and Alshon Jeffrey had about damn near the most perfect game you could have played. Y'all were playing number one Alabama, who was supposed to be the best team that Saban's had at Alabama, which he hadn't been there but 2 years, but a pretty stacked team. And you go out there and you guys beat them. What was the atmosphere like before the game and after the game? What was your mindset through that game?
I mean, people ask about it all the time. It's funny. Coach Spurrier, the entire week of practice, he was as nonchalant and laid back as I've ever seen him. He's kind of just carefree, just like, yeah, man, go out there. We're gonna put a game plan together. Just go out there and play your game. All the other games, he's like, all right, this is what you need to do. This, if they're in this coverage, you need to throw it to this guy. This and this and that. This Alabama game, I don't know if he kind of expected us to get our ass whipped or what, but he was very laid back, which was awesome. And he let us just play our game, or me specifically, just play the way I play. And I wish he would have done that my entire career, but it is what it is. But the atmosphere afterwards was absolutely insane. Atmosphere during the game was insane. The fans were going absolutely ape shit. I mean, it was crazy as hell. And yeah, that following week was a fun week. It almost too fun since we lost to Kentucky the following week.
Do you feel like you guys were a little bit hungover on that Alabama win that kind of
No,
translated over?
no, I don't think so. We were, to be honest, we were beating the hell out of Kentucky in that first half. And then Lattimore ended up getting hurt, and for some reason we just forgot how to play football on offense, and defense we couldn't tackle the damn soul, and they ended up coming back and winning. But yeah, I mean we were killing them in the first half. I think it was like 28-3 or something. It was something crazy, and then they ended up coming back. So that's part of the game. It's part of football. But yeah, there was no hangover from the Alabama win.
Like I said, I know you're a busy man. I won't want to keep you long, but to wrap this up, what are your thoughts on South Carolina this year? What do you think about Spencer Rattler?
Yeah, I think I like Spencer. I think he's a very talented player. Obviously, very live arm. We'll see what happens with the new offensive coordinator. Everybody that I've talked to that has played under him or played for him, absolutely love him. He's a footballist guy. So I mean, that's big to have that kind of you know whatever it's called connotation, I guess, behind your name. So yeah, I think if they can kind of, I guess what I heard from last year was Satterfield was a little bit more complex in his offensive schemes and play calling. And I think, with Dow Loggins, I think it's a little bit more, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's a little more easy to understand and execute. So I think that's kind of a big deal. Obviously Coach Beamer knows what the hell he's doing. I think they're due for a breakout year, especially the way the year ended last year, on high notes, beating Tennessee and beating, Clemson for the first time in several years. Obviously I wish we would have beat Notre Dame, but it's a bowl game. But I think they built a lot of momentum going into this year, and I'm looking forward to see what they end up doing.
One more thing, since I played quarterback in high school, I'm always interested to talk to other quarterbacks and quarterbacks who've played at a higher level than I have. Obviously, what was the biggest adjustment when you went to South Carolina? Was it throwing guys open? Was the speed of the game something to get adapted to? What was it?
It was a little bit of everything, man. I mean, I played at a pretty big time high school down here in Florida. A lot of fast guys, a lot of big guys that you're playing against, but you just don't understand. You're at the top level in high school. Then you go, to an SEC school, and every single person on that roster is the top guy at their high school or in their state or their region or the country. So, we go in there, and it was Spurrier's first couple of years, so the recruiting classes weren't great, but you're still playing against, you're an 18-year-old kid playing against grown ass men. I mean, it is a different deal. Then we started having some higher recruiting classes, and now you got the number one ranked player in the country coming with Clowney. You got the number one ranked running back in Lattimore. You got the number one ranked receiver. You got all these big time guys coming in, and you start building that operation, that team, and obviously then you play against, the University of Florida's who are winning national championships, left and right. You play against LSU. You played against the SEC is 100% the hardest conference. I mean, there's no doubt about it. To answer your question, long-winded is just the speed and the size of everyone is drastically different than high school. My son's a freshman right now, and I went to a spring game on Tuesday, and I'm looking at these kids. I'm like, these kids look like infants compared to the guys that I was playing against in college, and even in the pros. So I mean, it's a much different deal. The size and the speed is just, I would say, the biggest difference.
Well, Stephen, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to chat a little football with me. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man! I appreciate it. So again, sorry it took so damn long.
Oh man, you were good. You were good.